What's up, tribe? Thank you for being here and welcome to my channel. So today I woke up and I laid the cards out for the Gemini reading. And then I thought, no, I have to share this with you because I think it will help you, it will help the collective and not just Geminis. It will help the collective understand a whole lot. So there we go. This is another conversation between Matias and his higher self. This one's titled The Ego, and as usual, I'd be referring to Matias as me and to the I am as I am. So Matias says, when we spoke of coherence, you mentioned that ego means I, and that without the I, you cannot reach the I am. You also said that egoism is the movement of the self, and egocentricity is the belief that one is the center of everything. But tell me, what really is I? I am. The I is several things, but one of them is the construction of all external factors. The self is the result of data, information accumulated through your biological history, both of the species that have made you live today and of your own family tree. The self is in turn a cultural construction that has shaped the way you speak, think, feel, act, to live in harmony with the environment that surrounds you. It is in turn the result of all your experiences and the final product of the astros that condition your personalities. It is all your attributes and your weaknesses, your mistakes and your successes. It is the construction of the person, who you say you are, how you present yourself, how the world knows you. And it is the center from which all your relationships and ties with others are generated. Me. So I am almost an anchor, a mirror. I am the result of external factors. It is like when you explained to me that the tree is not green, but rather the reflection of the ranges of light that are divided in the photosynthesis process carried out by chlorophyll, and our eyes see this color due to our ability to perceive said range of light. But it does not mean that the trees are green, but that it is the color that I can see of the tree. The self would be like that color, which is the result of many mechanisms that make it who it is, even if it's not real. I am. Exactly. All external factors refer to every force that has shaped who I am, whether from the biological to the experientially self, including the climate, the territory in which I am born, culture and religion, how many parents have treated me, or if I did not have them, all the factors of the world that surround us modify and mold the self. Me, and why the stars? I am, because everything is connected, and yet in society it is believed that things are separated by distance. In the microcosm, distance does not exist. The stars that are hundreds or thousands of light years away, for the universe is light that you see and perceive, like the green of the tree. They are and are not. They exist and they do not exist. But they modify your internal world when you see them. No matter how much what we see is the past. All light that you see in the sky does not live in the present, but is the past of each star. The time it takes for the light to reach you, thus, in the same way, this relativity makes the particles that make up those stars the same ones that make you up. And when you are born, it is as if your light combines with theirs. Thus, you occupy a new individual space in creation, and you receive the seal of the stars that observe you. Think about the closest. How do you feel in spring, summer, fall, and winter? Me, I am different. I act different. In spring, one is more cheerful and eager to do things, when in winter one is more inward, pensive. In autumn, there may be more depression, and in summer, everything is altered. I am, well, if the seasons change your I every 3 months, think now about the moon and the sun. Day and night influence your state of mind, the way you are in life. The moon, with its gravity, derives the tides in the ocean, creates the waves, moving the waters of the world, and you, human, are 70% water and emotion. For this reason, it influences creativity emotionally in the menstrual cycle. Then you have Venus and Mars, and the further you go, the more subtle the modification or effect on you. If the sun shows what you are during the day to others, the moon will show what you are inside you. At night, Venus, Mercury, and Mars will influence your daily attitudes in relation to communication, love, and the will to action, while Jupiter and Saturn mark something more distant, your purposes, challenges, and missions, something that is not every day but is far on the horizon, and then the imperceptible, your subconscious and unconscious, the search for inner truth, the spiritual path of Uranus and Neptune, to find death on Pluto at the end of the road. And the constellations that surround all the planets are the character, essence, with which you will face each of these levels. Thus, astronomy and astrology are one more factor that modifies your being. But perhaps for many, this is too far. Then you must go to the center of your own solar system, your plexus. Me, the solar plexus, the pit of my stomach. I am, tell me, where do you nourish yourself before being born? Me, because of the umbilical cord? I am, of which today only your navel remains as a seal. Your first contact with the reception of external information is the cord that goes to the plexus to nurture your being. This cord not only carries food, nutrients, but in turn, emotions, sensations, thoughts, which come to you by the first being to which you link. Me, my mother. I am. You then are the earth, the center of your life system, but everything that comes to you, you owe to your mother, the closest first star you have in your life, the moon. Here begins the real construction of your personality. The internal world that nourishes your being is the information of the water that moves your mother. Just like the moon in the heavens, in the dark, she's the only one you can trust until you see the light of day. When you leave the cave, the night of creation, the waters and the emotion, you see the light, and with this light, the face of your Father, the Sun. Thus, your life begins to use both forces, Father and Mother, the Sun and the Moon. Your life revolves around both, and day by day, you live closer to one and sometimes to the other, expressing yourself, experimenting in the game, integrating, learning, and transcending the unnecessary. That is, you live your spring, summer, fall, and winter. So throughout life, you awaken the force of play, of friends, of conflicts between parents, siblings, and friends. The struggle to grow up and see Mars in their faces, until your emotion of the beauty of life awakens, and you fall in love, awakening in adolescence the force of Venus, growing up in the experience of Venus and Mars. He begins to search to find himself in learning and exchange with others, the presence of Mercury, and at the end of adolescence, school, you put on a long-term project, your purpose, what I want to be as an adult, and in what I want to be successful. Our profession is Jupiter, who lives in the faces of our idols and examples to follow. But to achieve what we seek, we must go through the harsh trials of life. The teachers, bosses with the face of Saturn, and one day you realize that all that you were looking for does not fill you, and you start looking for the answers that are beyond you. You look for the path of truth. The answers that you will find in the spiritual or philosophical and in the teachers of life, you will see the face of Uranus, until you realize that everything that others can teach you. Oh God, I should grow up. I don't know when, but one day I will grow up. Hey, behave. Until you realize that everything that others can teach you lies within you, in the vast oceans of your internal world, where you find in the subconscious the most hidden answers, and you see yourself as Neptune. This is how you realize that the only way to emerge as a new human, a new I, is to let the old die. The crisis of being in existence, which you will see in the face of Pluto, and you start looking for answers that are beyond you. You look for the path of truth, the answers that you will find in the spiritual or philosophical. Me, my life is almost a path through the cosmos. I am, and everyone you meet, in your family, friends, loves, teachers, enemies, all of them are the planets of your own solar system. Me, what if I haven't had a father or a mother or friends or brothers or loves? I am. That you don't see them doesn't mean you don't have them. Tell me, don't you have a father? Me, now yeah, well, I always had him actually, but I didn't meet him until I was 27 years old. I am, and who was your son? Me, for a while I thought it was my grandfather. Although he was not very present, I did not recognize him as a father. My mother was both Sol and Luna. Although I do know that since I was born, I could see the lights of those who were in another dimension. Kuen, my guide, was there from the first moment. I am, that is to say that your father, in your subconscious, was not of this dimension, and your son was not visible. but etheric. Me, yes, from psychology it could be interpreted that I made an emotional transfer. In other words, not having a father, I imagined one to make up for that absence. I am, however, he is a father, not? Me, I do. I think that's a typo. I think that's a typo, but it says I do, so I'm going to say I do. I am. The conflict of psychology is that it stays in the traumas of absence and does not strengthen the capacity of the being to fill in the empty spaces. The physical absence of your father made your solar system have no center, and therefore there are no limits, because in the etheric sun, time and space are eternal. Thus, your universe was not limited, and you were able to hear me. Remember all your history. Remember all your history. Remember the cosmos that is your father, and amplify your family to humanity. Me, in other words, my I was freed from limitations thanks to not having had a father. I am. The greatest gift your father gave you in this life was not being present since you were born. Sometimes we think that to be a perfect being, we need all the correct agents of a family: mom, dad, brother, sister, grandfather, grandmother, uncle, aunt, cousin. As if that were normal. Normal comes from the word neutral, that is norma in Latin, which is usual or frequent. However, what is repetitive is not evolutionary, since what evolves is precisely what makes the difference. The ego must go beyond the normative to discover its potentials and not repeat the same cycles. Absences, crisis, breaks and ties make us grow. Me, yes, I noticed that. In a way, inside of me, there is an imperative need that we are all in perfection. That the family must always be in its best state. That no one quarrel, that we can all always be friends, etc. But it's very complicated. I have lived it. The fact of losing relationship with part of my family and with friends. In these last 2 years, there have been instances in my life that have destroyed the old Matias, but that have allowed a new, transcendental one to emerge. Feel free, without any weight, deeply loving all people that in these 2 years I lost as family and friends, or at least that I lost in the way I hoped to have them. I am. Exactly. You have not lost anyone. You have gained a new perspective. The voids that other people leave in our life modify our solar system to allow new worlds to enter. And that does not eliminate the previous ones, but you carry them within you. And if you love them in their presence and in their absence, you will have understood that changes only make us move forward. That a crisis is always an opportunity for both. And yes, it says for both. I don't know if he meant to say for growth, but maybe he means to say for both loving them in their presence and their absence. Anyway, back to the conversation. Me. Last year, my ego felt hurt in many ways. Many people I loved very much disappeared from my life. And above all, it was by my own choice. I felt that the circumstances in which we were interacting were not the best for me or for them. I am. What aspects of your personality caused your own solar system to go haywire? Me. I am a communicator, but I am very afraid to talk to those I love the most. I close myself off from the slightest conflict. I lose my words, and a defense mechanism is activated that prevents me from solving any kind of problem. I do not tolerate discussion. I do not know how to fight or impose a vision on the other. So instead of speaking, I quietly walk away. This has caused many people to walk away or believe me as a child throwing tantrums. And the truth is that I always felt like a child. Even today, I live life as a child with the same illusion, and sometimes that destroys. I saw in my environment that some people used me, and others that they expected much more from me than I could give. Of course, there were mistakes on their parts, but it was also a mistake on my part not knowing how to manage it ahead of time. And in the last instance, I am. And how does that make you feel? Me, like a failure. I don't feel bad or sad. Something that always used to happen to me, no longer, that's more. What's more, I feel liberated, as having understood that it was necessary to leave a space between some members of the family and some friends. But I see it as a failure to unite. I am. Unity does not mean being together. The planets have a lot of space between them. Otherwise, they could collide. That is what happens when instead of each one following its orbit, they try to get closer by intersecting the orbit of the other. Planets collide. The ego is that which tries to keep each one in their orbits, in themselves. Me. And it is also that which makes us look only from our point of view and fight for mere perspectives which do not exist. I am. Ah. But that does not know the I. Me, and who knows? I am. I know it. The I am is the one who possesses all perspectives, the one who understands the logic of all the different is that make up the solar system. The I am is gravity. It is the space between the planets. It is what you don't see if you don't pay attention. If you count the stars in the sky, you will see separate lights consuming themselves. If you count the space, you will see the meaning they make between them. You will see the constellation and you will be able to tell its story. I am. I know it. The I am is the one who possesses all perspectives. the one who understands the logic of all the different is that make up the solar system. The I am is gravity. It's the space between the planets. It's what you don't see if you don't pay attention. If you count the space, you will see the meaning they make between them. You will see the constellation and you will be able to tell its story. The stars and planets move away from each other. They consume their own energy, but still they are part of the constellation. No one from whom you separate ceases to exist, because you can bring many people together in the same place without them feeling united. But you can feel the unity between many people who are separated. It all depends on the ability of yourself to accept those worlds and stars that surround you. The earth rotates on itself, and seeing the sun, it does not see the stars. That does not mean that they're not there. In the process of translation, sooner or later, you will see them. But if you do not move for fear that your ego loses its access, then you will hardly change your point of view around the sun. The ego is an axis in your rotation. It is your North Pole and South Pole. It has its negative and positive aspects, and it is not perfect, because it is his imperfection that allows him to change his looks. Me, evolution depends on I, then and not the I am. Is that it? I am. Evolution is the adaptation to change. The I am cannot see the change because it is everything, here and now. Only the I can transform itself in the journey. It can be nourished by other worlds or people, from different landscapes, crises, conflicts, joys, voids, and plenitudes. The self is the result of constant change. It is the history traveled and the will to continue doing it. Don't take failure as defeat, but as an urge to find a better way to do it. Well, that's your nature. Your personality uses your ability to adapt to mistakes. Me, all the paths or spiritual teachers and guides who say that the I is that part that must be dominated and controlled by the spiritual consciousness, that the ego is the confusion and takes us away from the clarity of the spirit. What do you have to tell me of it? I am, tell me, who's the best artist? Raphael, Monet, or Picasso? Me, well, it depends on what kind of art you like. I am, so can you judge the ego by its art? Me, you say that the ego, beyond an egoic concept, is an artist, no? I am, each ego is itself an artist who has discovered a different way of making art. That is to perceive the world. They're all painters. They all make up art as a whole, which is the I am. However, it is the ego that has given originality, the one that became an artist with an art. If all artists had clarity of spirit, all the canvases and the walls of history would be white. For the divine consciousness can only see that all potentialities coexist in the same particle. And the maximum possible clarity is to contemplate that particle radiating the essential energy. The beauty you see in the world, in creation, in art, in music, in architecture, in religion, in science, in education, in sports, in everything you can think of, is thanks to the perspective of the ego. Stop wanting to fight to control the artist that lives in you. Each person you meet, each emotion that links you to them, each relationship, trauma, conflict, experience, separation, infatuation, joy, fun, and resolution that you have experienced is what makes you original, evolutionary, capable of showing different forms. Why would the divinity have created all this just to discover what it already knows? Me, awakening the potential of the ego. I am. The potential of the ego is what nourishes the I am, because when the ego, the I, realizes what it is capable of, it raises its head and understands what it is. Thus, it joins me, the I am, and creativity becomes creation, and separation becomes unity. All the emotions that live in me from everything I lived is what makes me see the colors, the shapes, the facts, the purposes in specific and unique ways. The construction of my personality from external facts. It is what allows me to discover my inner capacity. I am. The I am lives in you. You just have to discover it. And the only way to do it in life is through the I. Live then, being yourself. Feel without fear of letting go, losing or gaining ties. Remember that you are the center of your solar system, and that no matter how far away others are, the force of gravity, which you will call love, will inevitably unite them. Sometimes moving away is simply preventing the planets from colliding, creating the total destruction of both celestial bodies. Find your axis. Awaken the artist in you. Stop fighting with the only force that moves you in life. Be yourself once and for all, and there you will find me. Me, I am who I am.